तो अब समय आ गया रुद्र ब्रिगेड के साथ कोल्ड स्टार्ट डॉक्ट्रिन को कोल्ड स्ट्राइक डॉक्ट्रिन में तब्दील करने।
India is changing how it prepares for war. The military is moving away from old strategies that required weeks of preparation and massive troop movements toward a faster, more efficient approach. The recently tested Rudra Brigade demonstrates this new thinking in action. For decades, Indian military planning followed the cold start doctrine. This meant deploying huge formations with tens of thousands of soldiers, which took considerable time to organize and move into position. Different units had to be brought together from various locations, coordinated through multiple levels of command, and supplied through complex logistics chains. The process was slow and predictable. Recent military exercises have introduced a different concept called cold strike, which focuses on speed, integration, and the ability to achieve specific goals quickly before pulling back.
So Balakot airstrike, what has provided? It has provided impetus. Though we were deliberating on the different doctrines when Sir Ajit Doval came to the forefront on how to kind of address the menace of terrorism in terms of strategically and tactically. So we were obviously, he was actually working with military and the different apparatus, defense apparatus, that how that doctrines can be changed. Every time they come and target the innocent, and we don't have the option. So previous government has created the doctrines called strategic restraint. The strategic restraint is nothing but to not act, right? When they do a terror strike in our soil, and we just condemn that act of condemnation, and just forget, because we want to stay at the moral high ground. And by stating that posture, that our strategy is, our doctrine is strategic restraint, that means that we will not do anything, we will condemn, and we will always keep our moral high ground to win a diplomatic warfare. But it didn't work. I mean, nor in the world, in the diplomatic circle it worked, that we will have some lot of sympathy, and there will be a pressure from international ecosystem that, okay, they will pressurize Pakistan to not do any sort of proxy warfare. So we have to understand that proxy warfare is obviously the new normal in this world, because most of the country do a proxy warfare, but not to the extent that Pakistan, because they actually use terrorism as a proxy warfare. That's a very difficult thing. Proxy warfare is a kind of supporting a separatist movement in my enemy country. That can happen. That's a normal in this new world. But to have terrorism and to kill civilian it's not a proxy war. It's a different kind of thing that's to be dealt in a different way, right? So nobody did that. So Sir Ajit Doval came and actually understood the problem, and he actually devised a new technique. It's called offensive defense. So what does that mean? So offensive defense means I will preempt a problem that, say for example, there is a risk or threat I am perceiving from emanating out from Pakistan. I will do that threat perception, and identify that, okay, I have to target that threat that can in future target me. So I am not defending myself reactively. So initially what was happening, that we are doing a reacting or reactional strategy. It was purely a reactional strategy. Once someone hit us, then we react. Now I have to be proactive. So if I see that there is a risk or threat to my country, I will kill that threat, right? I will destroy that threat. So that is offensive defense. Offensive defense. So I am using my offensive technique to defend ourselves. It is different from pure play offensive, where I just attack, which is obviously there are many countries like US and China which has a pure play offensive technique. So we are not in that realm, right? So that's how one of the doctrines that emanated out of that after post Balakot airstrike that took the pace, right? The most important doctrine that shaped our entire military, our entire doctrines, like the spectrum of doctrines, is called cold start doctrine, right? That's how the cold start doctrine is not new. Like India actually devised this or discovered this doctrine during 1970, But after the war, different kind of wars India fought, and there was a economic uh, downturn calamity, you can say, until 1992, and then there's a liberalization that happened, and then we actually focus more on economics than on doctrines and military. Now our economy has taken a shape, and it is in a good shape. So we thought of having a cold start doctrine. We just reinvent that cold start doctrine. So what Ajit Doval did. So what is cold start doctrine? Cold start doctrine is a doctrine which state that my preparedness for a war, it should be such a way or such a scale that I can quickly deploy my entire assets like Navy, Army, and Air Force assets so that enemy will not get a chance to react. That means if I have to just compare with Blitzkrieg of Germany or Hitler has did, so it's a asset deployment of a Blitzkrieg scale, right? So I can deploy the assets. For example, I will give you an example how we implemented this doctrine in this warfare, Operation Sindoor. Navy, I do say it's purely an unsung hero in this entire Operation Sindoor. What Navy did was they deployed entire fleet, like two aircraft carriers, corvettes, destroyers, the entire spectrum, then the submarines, and it was in Pakistan for blockade, right? This time, and no one has seen that Navy is holding a gun in Pakistan's head. No one is seeing that, and what they're saying with that posture that if you just put a hand on India, then I will pull the trigger. But Indians, as common Indians, we didn't realize there's a hand, invisible hand, and holding a gun, Pakistan head. So that is a degree of or the principle or philosophy of this doctrine, which is cold start doctrine. So I will deploy in such a way that our enemy will not have any kind of uh, opportunity to react, and they will just say they will back out. I will back out because I don't have that preparation, right? So that is one part of the doctrine. The second part of the doctrine, that my escalation during the war, my escalation will be such a proportionate that I always um, dominate the escalation ladder, and I am always above what enemy is thinking. So that is, it's very simplistic. I am trying to explain cold start doctrine. It's a significantly large and elaborative kind of doctrine, and it has multiple facets. But I'm just giving some colors to that, or some contours that, right, to explain what is cold start doctrine. So this is two doctrines I talked about. The third doctrines which took shape or maybe has been matured over the years after Balakot airstrike is the standoff precision strike. So this is what we have developed, and probably now we are the best, right? Like we have taken this doctrine to a level that both diplomatic ecosystem and military ecosystem can work together, because when I do a standoff strike, there are a lot of fallouts that might happen that can be taken by diplomatic circles. So this playbook has been created by India. I don't think so. Israel has also created that kind of thing, right? So Israel and India are almost same coin when we face terrorism in that proportionate. So that doctrine, like we have a standoff, always have a standoff capability where I can deep strike into Pakistan, right? That's a problem. That's a problem for us for 50 years, and we have developed that playbook, and that's a wonderful thing to have, I guess. And this is from the Indian side. What doctrines? Probably there are multiple doctrines. I'm not going into details, but these are the three important doctrines we have. We have offensive defense. We have the most important cold start doctrines, and the standoff capability. So these are the three important doctrines we developed post Balakot. And what Pakistan did, the new Asim Munir. So he's a terrorist actually in a military uniform. When I say Asim Munir, failed Marshal Asim Munir. So he has reinvented Jiaul doctrine of Tupac, Tupac, and Badr ul Abbas. So This doctrine is obviously stating that the same thing, like um, um, fund all the separatist movement in India. Kashmir, when I say Kashmir, Northeast, there are different kind of Khalistanis. Always fund and promote this separatist movement. This is the primary objective of this doctrine. But Asim Munir has taken to a next level, right? Taken to a next level. Not Asim Munir. Post before Asim Munir, also it was under the play that identify all the fault lines of India. There are fault lines. There is uh, mm, religious fault line where majority of Hindu and there are minorities. So play that fault line to my benefits. Then there is a uh, um, language fault line, regional fault line, tribal versus urban or tribal versus non-tribal fault line, caste fault line, and that has been being ricocheted or being resonated by their own ecosystem that is present. So there are few ecosystem here in India. They are actually are in the payroll of Pakistan ISI. Let me put in that way. So there are many people also in political spectrum. Political spectrum. There are many people in political spectrum. They are in the payroll of ISI. They always kind of resonate when they try to do something on Pakistan side, and they try to we try to do something from our side, and we have an ecosystem which always resonate with Pakistan, be it any situation, any stage. And obviously this ecosystem is funded by not only Pakistan but China. You have US, you have some other countries like Turkey. They're funded, right? So this is all about their Badr, Tupac and Badr Ulabas. They have renovated that doctrines and try to create fault lines, new fault lines. They are trying to create, see, North and South divide, North India and South India divide. Why this thing is coming? Because there is some people in this political spectrum who are funded by these people, right? Why there would be a North and South divide in 2020 to 25, right? So if some political party cannot win election, that doesn't mean there's a problem of North and South. That has been feeded by this ecosystem. So that has to be understood. So these are two important three important doctrines India has changed, and one important doctrines Pakistan has reinvented themselves after the or like last 10 years. So this is where I will stop for this chapter. I will stop in this chapter, and then I will come to the next chapter. Thank you.